Good morning, Harsimarbir. It is great to have
Good
you at
morning.
ISB. You are a leading entrepreneur in the country, a pioneer in the health tech space, having co-founded Pristyn Care, which is helping patients access medical care, surgeries much more easily in a country, where healthcare challenges are numerous. So it is great to have you for this conversation. Thank you for joining us and taking out the time.
No, it's been my pleasure, and like I said, thank you for taking my name very, very clearly in the first instance. You can also call me Harsh for easy conversational point, but it's amazing to be here at ISB.
Absolutely, and I think my pronunciation of your name goes correctly because of our long association from 13 years, right? So we worked on one of your previous startups way back in 2013.
Yeah, one of my 3 failures, which didn't go anywhere.
Absolutely, and so I think that's a good way to start this conversation, right? So every entrepreneur, I think, goes through a lot of journeys. You have been through a lot of journeys as well. You have, as you said, 3 startups that didn't work out as planned. And all of these were in different segments, different industries, different sectors, right? From food, restaurants to now healthcare and others, right? So give us an idea, how does an entrepreneur really navigate, these dynamics, come out of these setbacks and start up again, right? And what, as SB school students, what can we learn if we have to start up? How do we endure there?
It's crazy. As I was walking into ISB today this morning, one of the amazing thoughts started to come through my mind. Back in 2010, I had come back from US, and ISB had started for about, I think it existed for about 8-9 years, and it was one of the most premier institutions even then. And I said, hey, why don't I get an education there? It'll be a great experience, something awesome to look on my resume. And then I looked at the fees, and it was like, hey, this is a lot. And so it's taken me 14 years to come to ISB in a different capacity today, but I think that's the day I said, okay, I'll come back here someday. But it's been 14 years. But I think the lesson I'm trying to drive from this humorous point is it's the perseverance. I think most entrepreneurs, just like anybody else who's trying to pursue a mission, a vision in their own lives, perseverance is extremely, extremely important. And it's not easy, right? You said, how do you take care of these dynamics? So I started my first company back in 2010. And from 2010 to 2015, I did 3 startups. All of them went nowhere. And they were in very diverse fields, very significant in technology. So everything was centered around technology, because that's, I think, the center point, at least, of my focus. First one was in data analytics. We used to do supposedly something which was not very fancy 14 years ago. We said there's a lot of data, we'll find patterns, something we call AI today. It was big data that time. It was called, that was the name it was used. So data analytics. The second one was hyperlocal, location-based, mobile-first information. So this is back in 2012. We launched our own mobile app and QR code, and everybody said, "Yaar, aap website kyun nahi kar rahe ho?" Flipkart, Zomato did not have an app, by the way. Paytm had not launched the QR code. So we were, I would not say early, but I think we were right on the money, but maybe didn't do very well. And the third one was in food delivery. So Swiggy got started in Bangalore in 2014 late, and we got started in Delhi. Swiggy, of course, is going to be Swiggy. As you would know, it's going public, amazing company build, and it went nowhere for us. After those 5 years, the first thought I had in my mind when I started to take stock was, zindagi mein kuch bhi kar lena, startup nahi karna hai. So I think, to my own honest words, I don't think I gave up, but I think the excitement and the drive to do something and build something from ground up went completely away. I was lucky enough to join a very amazing entrepreneurial institution, Urban Clap. An urban company today, it was called Urban Clap that time. Early employee, pre-revenue, got a chance to build one of the largest businesses. I think 2.5 years down the line, when my stint there became really successful and I was able to deliver a lot of value and learn alongside the institution, we became from a startup to what it's happening today. Urban companies, of course, the pioneers in at-home services, and they've grown to be market leaders, not just in India, probably globally. The moment the first success came in, I think the mind started to go back to my original thesis. I think it never went outside me, but for those 2-3 years, I think it never was driven. So I think the perseverance and not giving it up, I think is my first set of, not advice, but I think learning from my own experience. In fact, it's surprising. I met one very young entrepreneur. 2 years into Pristyn, I met this entrepreneur who came up to me. He used to work with me at Urban Company. He said, "Hey, Harsh, I'm starting a company. मैंने ना 1 साल का पैसा जोड़ लिया है. So if this doesn't work for 1 year, I will go back to my job." I was like, dude, I've literally been on the verge of divorce three times in the last 2 years itself, and I've just got married. And you are saying 1 saal mein nahi hai to wapas chale jayenge. So you can't have a plan B. So I think don't do it for the heck of it. Don't do it for the headlines. Don't do it for the podcasts. Don't do it for the magazine covers. Don't do it for the funding rounds. Don't do it for all the good things you hear about entrepreneurs doing well. It's a grueling journey. It's, I know a lot of ISB folks. Sometimes the kind of assignments you have to do and stay up overnights across those, final semester presentations. Just multiply that into 365 into 20 years, and that's what entrepreneurship is. So don't do it if you don't really feel like. So perseverance, I think, for me is the first argument.
Absolutely, and I think once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur, right? So even if you suggest don't start up, then people will not. People who want to be entrepreneurs, they will eventually end up, right?
Yeah, I think I'm just saying, have the reason, the reason for it, and reasons can be multiple. Somebody asked me a few days ago, why are you really an entrepreneur? And I was like, wow, that's a great question. I never thought about it. The reality is I'd spent 30 minutes, I couldn't still think about it. I couldn't think, why am I an entrepreneur? Why I want to do these things? But that's the same thing you get an answer from if you talk to a cricketer, if you talk to a musician, if you talk to, somebody who's, making buildings, somebody who's pursuing a creative profession. If you cannot really explain why you're doing something, that's really the true honest mission. I can't explain why I'm an entrepreneur. The same way I can't explain, why I like aloo ka paratha more than maybe idli sambar, right? I can't explain. It's how I'm hardwired.
Right. Absolutely, I think that's just the inner drive that exists, right? So, so let me ask you this: you worked with Urban Company earlier, and then you have built your own startups. You have talked about this. What would you suggest a budding entrepreneur trying to find out, his or her passion as to which sector, which domain do they lie, and how can they really build something? What is it that is more useful? Working with a younger startup, growing with them to a certain extent, learning from there, or just starting up, trying to do things that they want to do, and then finding their way out?
So you asked actually two very, very different but very phenomenally large questions. One is, how do you really find your, passion, something that drives you? And on the other side, you said, hey, should somebody work with a startup, work with a large company, or do something before they actually take the plunge?
Absolutely.
So let me answer the first one, maybe about the passion first. I think finding your passion is a lifelong exercise, and there can be stages in your lives when those passions change, right? And you always cannot always explain, why they are that way. For somebody like me, who's actually had all their startups from different domains, my first startup was in Bijli Ki Chori, electricity theft detection. This is my home state, Punjab, right? 2,000 crores of electricity theft 15 years ago. I did not know anything about that. I was learning finance in the US, working alongside investment banks and learning data analytics to identify, blips in the stock market. That was what I was doing. We said, hey, if we can do that in stock market data, why can't we do it in electricity data? And it was starting to digitize back then. So, nothing from my industry, very different industry learning. My second startup was in location-based, mobile-first information. I didn't really come from, software as a background. I'm not even a software programmer. But it was something which had started to catch up, something which was coming in, and again centered on technology. Third was in food delivery. Again, very, very different, hyper-local, last-mile food delivery. And the success of the first professional success which I saw was at Urban Company, where I was building salon, beauty services at home, massage at home, waxing at home, threading at home. I follow Sikhism as my faith. I have never been to salon in my life. So मेरे को जब Urban Company के founders ने बोला यार आप salon build करते, I was like, dude, look at me. I'm a Sardar. I don't know how does a salon look like. What I want to do there. But I think that thematically what I'm trying, and then there is healthcare, right? Thematically what I'm trying to tell you about it. Sometimes there are those opportunities, gaps which you start seeing in the markets, which gets you excited, and creatively you start thinking about solutions. You try to get to the depth of it, talk to the customers, talk to the value chain proponents, and sometimes you find new ideas. But I think the inherent thought process of doing something in and around technology was always my driver. So that's been centered. Industry has actually changed. So I don't know if that answers this question, but the passion finding is lifelong exercise. One of the things which I recently recognized, which is so simple, And back in 2007, I heard this Steve Jobs guy, wo Stanford ka famous speech, and learned everything, read everything about him, and he talked about how to make products which are insanely great. And I think I've never been really in a product startup, very services oriented startup, but I think it dawned on me that how we have never really thought to make services insanely great. As simple as it is, I think entrepreneurs in India, I think, should start thinking of making products and services insanely great and then making it, at the right price point. I think we go on the other side. We start thinking affordability, we start thinking customer, and then we forget what is really the problem we're going to solve. So I think, so it's a lifelong exercise of the passion. The second question you asked was, what is the right path? There is no right answer. There is, everybody will choose their own path. There is somebody like, two young entrepreneurs of our country who build Oyo, who's building Zepto. They are straight dropouts after college. And then there is somebody like, the likes who have built Nykaa. Ms. Falguni Nair, she worked for 30 odd years, and she's built one of the most amazing young companies, which are legendary in nature after serving 30, 40 years in a massive institution. So there's no right answer. But experiences will never hurt you. So whatever experience you can get while at campus at Duke, just like when I was a student about 15 years ago, and there was a lot of workload, but I tried to do everything on campus around any young company which was out there. Any young company, I didn't understand anything, but I just tried to get myself involved because it was my passion, right? So get experiences, but there's no right answer. You will find your own path.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and it's about don't be too jittery to just start up. Find the value that you can create, and then accordingly,
be jittery,
build something. Yeah.
Be jittery, be nervous. All that is true. If you're not getting those feelings, you are too much in your comfort zone, right? If you're not nervous, if your legs don't shake, if you're, you don't sweat a bit in your palms, I can tell you, you are anyways doing average, or you're doing what you already know, and it's going to turn out average. So it's okay to be jittery and all that. All those emotions are realities faced by anybody in the world. Every ISB student probably when they'll sit for their interviews at some point. So it's absolutely okay.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, there's this conversation going on about like how much work should one do? How much hours should one spend on, working in a week, working on professional stuff, and giving time for themselves, for their mental health, etc. Right? So what do you think? Like where do you think you stand on this?
No, absolutely. I think see, here's the thing. Work-life balance is a thing. It's a notion which makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't end there. It is different for everyone else, right? If you choose to do 9 to 5, 9 to 6, as your timeline, and if it works for you, absolutely okay. Go and choose and work for companies, institutions, group of people who believe in that knowledge. But if you want to choose something which is truly missionary in nature, which is truly vision building in nature, which is truly extraordinary in terms of the effort, then it might not apply. Virat Kohli did not become Virat Kohli by just 9 to 5 hours of work. Somebody like a Cristiano Ronaldo, who's probably 37, 38, which is the fag end of a sporting career, still has six-pack abs, still is probably has more energy, enthusiasm than probably anybody in this room right now. Still gets up in the morning, works out for 2 hours, rests again, plays for 2 hours, rests again, works out for 2 hours, and that's his boring routine, because he's decided to be insanely great in his mission of being one of the most amazing footballers in the world. Similarly, if you have to, Mr. Narayan Murthy, one of the most legendary entrepreneurs to come out of India, and I know he got questioned for saying 70, 80 hours a week. I can tell you, and I know I'm lucky enough to know some of those people in his circle. I think he toned it down. He toned it down when he said 70 hours of work, right? As of right now, it's been 5.5 years. Pristyn has grown up to be a fairly large company. We also have another brand called BeatXP. Both of them are doing really well. I can't remember a day when I'm not working, 12, 13 hours a day, 6 hours, 6 days a week, right? That's like, you have to, that's like 75, 80 hours normal, and then some hours on Sunday. It's like impossible. I had to take a 6 o'clock flight today, but I came from office at 11 in the night yesterday because there was an important project. But it's my choice. So if I've chosen this, let me follow this. There are people on both sides. Make your own choice. But if you have to follow something which is, missionary in nature, a chat GPT engineers, chat GPT has changed the world. AI is going to change the world. I don't think they are doing 9 to 5. So there is context. Let's not lose it. Work-life balance is a thing, but is it 15 hours a day or 6 hours a day? That's up to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you mentioned about chat GPT. That's a fairly good maybe segue to the next part of the conversation. I want to gather your thoughts on like AI is going to change the world, as you said. But we see a lot of AI still happening in, not in India, let's say, right? Like a lot of leading AI. How do we bring this home, and how do we ensure that what are the areas that we can build using AI
सब कुछ करना है यार हमें. देखो, I was listening to something Mr. Sanjeev Bikhchandani, another very amazing entrepreneur who built of course Naukri and InfoEdge and one of the early investors in Zomato. I was listening to some of his things, and he made a very valid point. He said last 40 years all the leading industries of today did not exist 40 years ago when he started his working career. Fundamentally what he's saying is every few years there's going to be new opportunity, there's going to be new technology, there's going to be new mindset, and new companies are going to be built. IT services did not exist. IT enabled services did not exist. Telephony did not exist. Internet did not exist, right? Financial services, what we see today, wallets and UPI, they did not exist. And all these companies are very, very, very large today. Even banking in its true state, HDFCs barely existed, the likes of that, right? So every few decades, opportunities are going to come in. But I think the reality of today is, if you look at US and you look at their top 20 companies, or top 10, 12 companies, 70-80% of them are product companies. But when you look at the top 10 by market cap Indian companies, they are services companies. So I think Indian entrepreneurs as an ecosystem have to start build products. We have to go ground up, and this is our journey. Folks like yourself and folks like me who are in the age group of 20 to 40, we have the chance of a lifetime over the next 20 years. India will turn into a, probably one of the largest economies. We're already 3.5 trillion, but we're going to be a developed nation in 2043. Our Prime Minister and his visionary leadership and so many other people. It doesn't necessarily matter. He's not going to be there probably in 20 years leading the country, right? Age might catch up with him, but there's going to be other leaders who are catching up, right? So this is our golden era. But to do that, we have to do, first of all, we have to change our mindset. As an entrepreneur, it belongs to all of us, including me. I've also not really built product companies. We have to start thinking product first. We also have to start thinking innovation first. हम ही लोग जाके सिलिकॉन वैली में इनोवेशन करते हैं, हम ही लोग जाके कोरिया ताइवान में काम करते हैं. आपने AI का बात किया, the chips, highest workforce of AI chip designers actually is in India, right? So why can't we make, the next NVIDIAs of the world? I'll tell you another stat. I think 2014, the research papers, which is a great measure of, development in technology and progression towards innovation, China was behind US in AI. Research papers in 2014. I might be misplaced by a couple of years. By 2018, they were at par. Today, China is probably 3x or 2x ahead of US, which is supposedly the world leader in AI research and technology. So if they can do it, why can't we? Right. But we have to change the mindset of the people. Second, we also have to change the mindset of, ecosystem supporters. I have seen venture capital industry back in 2010 when I started my first company. तो ये VC नहीं होते थे. तो किसी को पैसा वैसा लेना था तो घर वालों से लो या दोस्तों से लो, नहीं तो पैसा नहीं मिलता था. It was very, very selective. Right? Today there's a throbbing VC ecosystem. But even right now, the number of venture capitalists who are okay to support crazy ideas, that is limited. And I think that is stemming from India's, the way we've been brought on, where we don't want to take a lot of risks. हमारे को बचपन से सिखाया जाता है रिस्क नहीं लेना. डॉक्टर बन जाओ, इंजीनियर बन जाओ, नौकरी तो मिल जाएगी, रिस्क नहीं लेना. क्रिकेटर नहीं बनना है क्योंकि 11 लोगों की टीम है, हम बिलियन लोग हैं, रिस्क नहीं लेना है. सो आई थिंक दिस माइंडसेट ऑफ ओके टू फेल, ओके टू टेक रिस्क्स, go for that 1% chance and be appreciated for it. And I think it's changing. I think a lot of our new age ecosystems are okay to fail and support people who are not going back. I think that has to evolve. Government is playing a part. They are bringing in a lot of programs to support AI, chip designing, electric vehicles. I think that's going to be hugely helpful. We have some disadvantages. We don't have lithium sitting in our ground, right? That's all right, but we'll have something else. We have the youngest population in the world. So I think let's get all the Indians from throughout the world who've taken global exposure and get them back to India. Let's build the nation of our dreams.
Yeah. So healthcare is a very regulated space. It's a tough space to build something in, right? And you chose to build a unicorn out of this industry in a country like India, right? So give me an idea, like how did you get to this idea, and what inspired you to build Pristyn Care?
So I didn't choose to build a unicorn; it happened. Yeah, but healthcare is right. So I actually met my wife in 2016, and that was my sort of first brush with healthcare. Her entire family is in healthcare. She's a doctor, her father is a doctor, mother is a doctor. That was one. And then my closest friend and also my co-founder, Dr. Vaibhav, he's my childhood buddy for 30 years. He's a doctor himself. So when I was in Gurgaon, I was working at Urban Company, no family there. Urban Company, a startup, single person, nothing to do. So my Sundays used to be spent in the hospital where Vaibhav and Garima, my second co-founder, used to practice, because I had nothing else to do. So on Sundays I used to loiter around their cafes, in doctor rooms, and just sitting around in hospital, just because I had to spend time and whenever they had time to talk to me. I think during one of those conversations, this challenge of healthcare starting to dawn on me. How patient care is tough, how patients struggle to find certain set of information. But for me, the real insight started to come in when my mom underwent a procedure, and my co-founder, Dr. Garima, operated on her. She had to undergo a medical procedure. I thought I'm the brave heart soul, but when the doctor first time told my mom, hey, you need a procedure and you need a surgery, it was 30-second conversation. Like a cold chills went down my spine. I was like, at least explain me what it is. And that's all it is. The doctor didn't explain. She said, hey, your mom needs a procedure. We need to take a part of her body outside her body. Like it's, you are talking about my mom. Nobody explained it to me. We struggled for finding the doctor. We struggled for deciding what kind of treatment. There are multiple kind of treatments for the same disease. We struggled for getting the insurance. We struggled for finding the hospital. We struggled with post-discharge. At the hospital, because our insurance got delayed, we had to pay 30,000 extra because we stayed one night over and the procedure was so expensive. And it was not really our fault. We were not staying in the hospital longer because we wanted to. Doctor said go home. Insurance clearance didn't come. So we saw all these challenges, right from finding the doctor, deciding on the treatment, getting admission, getting the surgery done, insurance clearance, getting home, post-surgery challenges. When I saw these things for the first time, I really understood what my co-founders had talked about and my wife had talked about long. I think that's when we saw the challenge and said, hey, looks like there's an opportunity. It is tough, it's regulated, but that's why there is an opportunity to do it, and that's why you don't see anybody else doing it, right? There are either the traditional hospitals or there is Pristyn Care. So I think it's good to be in a space lonely.
Absolutely, and I think that is, although I'm not a market person for I'm not a marketer for ISB, but being ISB student and having studying here for last 6 months, I think I'll just say at ISB also we are building leadership that will contribute significantly to this vision of new India and taking India towards the developed country status that we really need
Absolutely.
to build, right? I really want this conversation to go on, but we slightly being cognizant of your time as well. Let me have this quick run of where let me capture your one-word answers to rapid fire sort of round to some of
Sure.
the words, right? So tell me what are the first thoughts that come to your mind when I say this word, right?
How honestly?
Absolutely honestly.
Fully, non-filtered.
Non-filtered, absolutely, yes. Health tech.
Nobody understands it. They either understand healthcare or they understand technology. They don't understand the vision together.
AI.
Irreplaceable. People still don't fathom its impact.
Patient experience.
We need to treat patients as human beings and not, as objects. And I think India can take a role. India can improve a lot. I hope as Pristyn we can contribute.
Affordability.
I don't believe in it. I believe in value.
Specialized care.
Misunderstood. but will come through.
I see. It's something that India is yet to fully develop, I think.
See, I think, like I said, specialized care is equivalent to saying expertise or niche, or somebody, brings in the highest level which is needed by a very, very selective set of people at a very selective point in time. I think we as a nation are moving towards an area where first we have to ensure that we are able to serve the purpose for a very, very large number of people who go through these challenges. Once we are able to do that, specialized care will also come in. But it's clearly needed, but I think it's far.
Absolutely, and I think that is one area that someone who wants to build value, right, can build. And I think that's a great conversation.
Your affordability and value question, I'm sorry, I'm just delving into it. There is value at every price point. You just have to know your customer and the value you need to give that person. Affordability is a misnomer. I don't believe in it.
Absolutely, and someone who's looking into health tech, wanting to start into health tech, maybe they can look into this.
Like I said, there is value in every. There's a customers or patients and customers at different value proposition. You can support each one of them.
Absolutely, and I think that is a great note to end this conversation for now. Thank you so much for joining again, Harsimar. It was great talking to you, and I am sure this conversation will be very valuable to ISB students and all the people who are going to watch this conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and great chatting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.